Welcome to the Lion. I am Chetan Valkar. Welcome you all. Let's get started with the topic of the day, joint Hindu family system. So when we consider joint Hindu family system, first of all we must understand the two schools of Hindu family, that is Mitakshara and Dayabhaga. So these are the two schools under the Hindu family system. We must understand them. So let's get started. Schools of Hindu law. आप सबको समझाना पड़ेगा व्हाट इज स्कूल्स ऑफ हिंदू लॉ. देखो, देयर इज वन डिस्क्लेमर बिफोर मूविंग अहेड. All the animation, picture, clips which we used, these are just for the understanding purpose, so that the concept is very much clear to you guys. Okay, no political agenda, that's it. So schools of Hindu law, there are two schools of Hindu law. We basically know Mitakshara and Dayabhaga. So for the entire lecture we'll be considering, or I will be pronouncing, the first school as Mitakshara and second school as Dayabhaga. Okay, so while understanding the schools of Hindu law, we must understand some of the basics. So this is 2020, 21st century, so we are here, the face of Hinduism is there. As a student, most of us don't know the basics, hence we, the Lion community, we are here to teach you from the basics to application. So this is the birth of Eshu, that is almost 2020 years before us, right? So that was the era, that stands the Christian era. Before that, before the birth of Yeshu, 1500 years before the birth of Eshu starts the Vedic period. That means 15th before Christ, that is 15th century before Christ. Okay, and it went on for the next 900 years. So from 15th before Christ to 6th before Christ, whenever we consider the centuries before the birth of the Christ, they are taken in a descending order. So 15th BC, 14th BC, 13, 10, 8, 7, 6. So that was the span of almost 900 years. That is called as a Vedic period. In between that, there are two types or the two divisions of Vedic period. The first 500 years, they are called as the early Vedic period, and the second 400 years, they are called as a later Vedic period. In between, there comes one person whose name was Yajnavalkya. He was born in 9th century before Christ. What is the importance of Yajnavalkya? Why I am mentioning him here? We'll see that in the subsequent lecture. So this is birth of Mahavir, that is 599 years before the Christ. Then there is a birth of Buddha, 558 years before the birth of Christ. So we can see Mahavir Jain and the Gautam Buddha, they are born in the same century. Then there is a birth of Muhammad Paigambar. He was born in a 5th century, that is Christ era or current era. That means 500 approx years after the birth of Yeshu. So one of my students asked me, sir, why we need to study this thing as a law student? Dekho, in Hindu law or in family law, we have to study the laws related to Hindus, laws related to Islam, and then there are some other aspects of Parsis and all. So we must know where the Buddha was born, where the Mahavira was born, where the Vedic period starts, and where the Muhammad Paigambar was born. So that is only the motto, nothing else. So let's get started with the Vedic period, and once we finish the Vedic period, then we'll go for the Yajnavalkya. So Vedic period, as we all know, Vid is a Sanskrit term that means Vida Vidya, that means to know something, and Vedas signifies the superior knowledge. Rishis, when they had a superior knowledge and they written it, they wrote it, or they remembered it, that is called as a Vedic scriptures. So there are 4 Vedas, as we know. First is Rig Veda, second Sam Veda. You can see some musical instruments there in the photograph in the Sam Veda, because the origin of the music is written in Sam Veda. Then the third is Yajur Veda, and Atharva Veda. So these are the 4 basic Vedas, and there are 4 divisions or subdivisions of the Vedas: Samhitas, Brahmanas, Aranyakas, and Upanishads. All these things are important to us, but not right now. We'll be studying the sources of Hindu law when we'll be going for the family law of 1. Right now we are just concerned about family law 2. Hence we are not going into the details. Whenever we'll be conducting the lectures related to family law of 1, that time we'll see the sources, these sources in detail. And there are 2 more scriptures. One is Ramayana and Mahabharata. We all know these 2 serials are going on the TV these days. Corona is there and everyone is locked down, so government of India decided to publish Ramayana on TV again. So I remember my childhood, we used to watch Ramayana. That was somewhere Sunday 9 a.m. in the morning, and recently I heard that it is the largest watched episode in the world. Wow. So of course we know who this person is. So after considering Veda, there comes one question, ki who is Manu? है ना? If these are the Vedas, then who is Manu, to whom experts always keep criticizing? So this is the homework for you guys. Study who was the Manu and what work he has done. What about, I'll tell you in the subsequent lectures. So let's go to the Yajnavalkya. We have done with the Vedic period. Now let's consider the Yajnavalkya. Yajnavalkya was a saint or the Rishi who was born 9 BC. That means 900 before the birth of a Christ. You can understand the years, the depth. Okay. These are some books written by the Yajnavalkya. We'll be dealing with these books in detail. So this was the Yajnavalkya. And there comes one more person, that is Vijnaneshwara. He was born in the 11th century current era or Christ era. So you can see Yajnavalkya was born in 9th BC and Vijnaneshwara in 11th CE. That means almost 2000 years span is there. So Vijnaneshwara, he was born in Karnataka, that is South Indian part of India, and he preferred to write a commentary on Yajnavalkya Smriti. So there comes our first point. The commentary written on Yajnavalkya Smriti by Vijnaneshwara is called as a Mitakshara, schools of Hindu law. Okay? So let's get in detail. Mitakshara school, you can see there is one very old book that is written somewhere in British era of India. Then another book is there. So both these are books are written in English. So one must wonder ki why, if this knowledge is so old, why these books are written in English? So I would like to tell you, the schools of Hindu law, these are not divided by the Hindu Pandits. The differentiation between Mitakshara and Dayabhaga has been created by the Britishers. When they came to India, they studied it and then they divided Hinduism into 2 schools, Mitakshara and Dayabhaga. That's why we can see the English texts. So we can read Yajnavalkya Smriti with the commentary of Vijnaneshwara called as Mitakshara. So this is the text from the Yajnavalkya Smriti. For me, there comes one question, ki why Vijnaneshwara chose Yajnavalkya Smriti and why not other Smriti? So you can imagine there were almost 2000 years gap between Yajnavalkya and Vijnaneshwara. Still he decided to write a commentary on Yajnavalkya Smriti. And why not other Smritis? There were thousands of Smritis were available. Still Yajnavalkya Smriti is considered by Vijnaneshwara. Why? So again, as I told you, Manusmriti was also there. So why didn't Vijnaneshwara prefer to write his commentary on the Manusmriti, and why did he prefer to write it on Yajnavalkya Smriti? The reason was the Manusmriti, the document, it is not a systematic record. Okay, it is not a systematic piece of work. If we go and read the Manusmriti, we'll find that there is one shloka on religion, and the next one is on the law, and the third one on morality. So overall, it is very much jumbled up. So that's why Manusmriti is not taken by Vijnaneshwara. He took Yajnavalkya Smriti. So why Yajnavalkya Smriti? Yajnavalkya divided his Smritis into three parts. So that means we can understand the Smriti is a systematic record. So first part of the Yajnavalkya Smriti is called as Acharadhyay. Second is called as Prayashchitta, the penance, and the third one is called as a Vyavaradhyay. This one is the most important as a layman or as a law student for us. From the word we can understand Vyavaradhyay. Vyavahar means the daily routine which we follow, the rules we follow in day-to-day life. So that is Vyavaradhyay. So in Vyavaradhyay, there is a clear demarcation between law and religion. Okay, I'm telling you two things. One is law and second is religion. In Manusmriti, there was not this specific compartment between law and religion. But this is not the case with the Yajnavalkya Smriti. So he divided law and religion in his Smriti. That's why he made the laws very much secular. And the laws which he made related to the property and inheritance, these are secular and they are not, bound to any religion. He gave them a very rational thought. So that's why Yajnavalkya Smriti was preferred, in which the Vyavaradhyay, Yajnavalkya said the inheritance should be by birth. What is the inheritance? If a person wants to claim his right on a property, he'll be claiming it by birth. That means if a person is born into a family, he can inherit the property only by birth. So Mitakshara school, we can see M for Mitakshara, M for most of India. So Mitakshara school is followed in most of India except Bengal and Assam. That region I have put in red mark. So how to remember it? Mitakshara, M for Mitakshara, M for most of India. And it is written by a South Indian. The Mitakshara school, they are divided into 5 sub-schools. First one is Punjab. It is the Punjab region of India. Second one is Banaras. It is the Uttar Pradesh region of India. The third one is Mithila. That is the Bihar and some of the part of the Orissa and Chhattisgarh area of India. Mithila was a very known state of ancient India, and Mithila is one of the scheduled language in the Constitution of India. Then next is Bombay or Maharashtra, and the fifth one is Madras or Dravida. So these are the 5 sub schools under the Mitakshara. First one is Punjab, second Banaras, third Mithila, fourth Bombay and Madras. Quick recap, how to remember it. So what is Mitakshara school? It is the commentary written on Yajnavalkya Smriti by Vijnaneshwara. So M for Mitakshara school and M for most of India except Bengal and Assam region. And then inheritance by birth. If a person is born into the family, he gets the inheritance. And then the last one, there are 5 sub schools, that is Punjab, Banaras, Mithila, Bombay and Madras. Okay, so how to remember these five sub schools? We know that song Bum Diggy Diggy Bum Bum. So we can just convert that Bum Diggy Diggy Bum Bum into Pum Diggy Diggy Bum Bum. Okay, so just remember Punjab, Banaras, Mithila, Bombay and Madras. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you guys. See you soon.